approach the end of the year, and as it is now tradition for this channel, I like to take a moment to look back at all the projects that I worked on over the year, not just to remind myself of all the work that I actually did, but also I like to do this to kind of look at a trend of like what were the things that I was more drawn into knitting, where did I spend most of my time knitting. I don't know, I like data. I like figuring out how I'm trending, and like it kind of tells me a lot about myself and also about what kind of stuff I knit and how fast I knit things and all that information. I honestly really recommend taking a moment to do it yourself, even if you don't have to make a video, but you can just, if you use Ravelry or any other way of tracking what is it that you work on during a year for knitting, crochet, or any other type of crafting, or even just keeping a journal, allows you to take a moment to look back and kind of take in everything that you worked on and honestly admire all of your handiwork. Like, we get so caught up in the like next and sometimes we forget to take a moment to look back and appreciate the work that we've done. So that's what this video is about. I've done this for a few years already. People seem to like it, and I will be looking at my Ravelry, but I also have a pile here of some of the stuff that I made. I don't have everything because a few of them were gifts, but even this pile, I feel like it's a little bit smaller than last time I made this video last year, but I still think I got through a lot, and let's just get into it and I'll show you as we go. The first project that I finished, it's actually the one that I'm wearing today, which is a Festive joke by Skinder Knits. If you've been following my channel for a while, you've probably heard me talk about this sweater before. It's my, festive Christmassy sweater, which I also really like because I made in colors that are not like super on your face Christmassy, so it feels a little more usable during a longer amount of time. But this happened to be the sweater that I worked on at the beginning of the year. It was kind of a fast-ish project because even though it's Colorwork, I used sport yarn. So I started this at the end of last year, at the end of 2023, and I finished it in January. So it was kind of a project that went on from the last year and continued into this year. I've mentioned it in my list of favorite Christmas not ugly sweaters that I recommend knitting, and I reach for it a lot during this time of year because it's so cold out, and this is a very warm and cozy sweater. And I love the Colorwork. Everybody always compliments me on it. It is just so easy to wear, and so this is what I'm wearing today, and it happened to be my first project of the year. The nice thing about this pattern, if you're interested in knitting it, like it is the full sweater Colorwork, but there's an option if you only want to do the joke, you can only do the joke. I don't know, I think for Colorwork it looks complicated, but it is not, because there's a lot of repeats obviously, and you can kind of customize it to yourself. It comes with different charts of all the different kind of motifs, so you can mix and match motifs and make it whatever you want it to be. So it is a very versatile sweater. Again, you can make it like less Christmassy and more just winter because it has some like snowmen and other like motifs that are not specifically Christmas. So I don't know, I love this sweater. I wear all the time. I didn't even think about wearing it for this video because it was the first one. It just happened to be. So I do recommend this pattern, and yeah, I love wearing this. The second pattern that I finished this year was actually a pattern that I designed, and I don't have it with me, but it is the dandelion top. So this is very completely extreme because this is a summer pattern, but because I designed it, I had to work on it much earlier than the summer so that I could have time to test it and then polish it and fix it and all of that. So I ended up finishing my dandelion top early in this year. If you are curious, I actually have an entire video, I believe, where I talk about the process of designing this top. It's a simple strappy top knit in cotton with hobby yarn, and it has a nice little lace pattern at the bottom of the top. It's like a square top. I think it's really cute. I really like wearing it in the summer. It's very airy and fun and easy to wear, and it was a really fun design to make. So even just looking at the picture reminds me of working on this pattern about almost a year ago, which is crazy. So this is one of my designs. If you want to check it out, I will have links to every single pattern that I mentioned that I worked on. So definitely my patterns will also be available for you to find, but you can also find videos where I go deeper into what that process was. Okay, the next project I believe was the biggest project of the year for me. Not only because I was really proud of it and because it was like my most watched video of the year, the video about this project, but also because like I remember just getting really into it and then really enjoying the process. And even though I had problems along the way or things that I had to figure out, it was like fun, challenging. People always ask me about it when they see this in real life, and I don't know, I'm so proud of this one. It is the Prince of Wales slip over vest, which I will put a picture on because it is here somewhere, but I don't remember where I will put it. It is a men's vest, and I really recommend that you watch the video that I made because for this specific project, because I go really into depth about not just my process for finding and deciding to make this project and like all the things I found along the way, the yarn that I used and all the little details, but I also give you a little bit of history or where this vest comes from. But in like really broad terms, it is a Colorwork vest and it is based on a historical piece of clothing. So I am so proud of this project. I think it's a very unique one that, you know, very rarely do I find a project that I get so into and kind of obsessed with, and then I'm so happy with the result. And I have been making my husband wear a lot during the holiday parties and stuff because I think it's also kind of Christmassy because of the colors. So he looks so cute in it too. I have some pictures of him that I will put on there. And so yeah, this is one of the projects that I am most proud about that I've ever done. And it's funny because it's something that wasn't for me, that I don't get to wear, but that I learned a lot from, and it was really enjoyable and it's beautiful. So check out that video if you want to hear all the details about this awesome project. The next project that I finished, and by then I am in February. So all of this, honestly, a lot of these projects that I've mentioned so far were kind of started late in 2023 and then continued on to early 2024. So this next one is another one of these that I just started a bunch of projects and then ended up finishing them early in the year. And so by now we're only in February. Like all of the ones I mentioned were January or February. This is still February, but I'm not that fast of an editor. I just started them earlier. And this is another spring, summer kind of pattern. I ended up being a gift as well, though I kind of want to make another one just for myself. No, I want to make another one for myself because I really liked how it turned out and the pattern is beautiful. And it is a guitar top by Sari Nordlund. And lace. You can see that I am drawn to two things, lace and colorwork. And so I kind of went back and forth between doing some type of colorwork and then doing some type of lace. And this one was on the lace side. Beautiful, beautiful. Honestly, I also felt kind of like a quick project, maybe because there's no sleeves and, you know, it's a summer top. The lace looks gorgeous and it looks complicated, but it was very easy to follow for me at least. And I really enjoy the lace part. And then after that, it's just stuck in it, however long you need to finish. So it was a very fun project. I think my sister really loved it. It really does look very fancy, I would say. Like that lace pattern is just gorgeous. So I have this on my list to make again, and I believe I also put this top in my list of summer patterns if you're interested. I mean, that's way ahead. We're in the middle of winter in the northern hemisphere, but if you are ever thinking about summer patterns, I do recommend this one, and it's part of that video where I talked about all the different summer patterns. This next project was also a gift, and it was for my dad. So it was a simpler project, but it was a fun one, and one of the few Pearl Soho patterns that I ended up kind of going back to. They have a lot of like really nice and elegant but simple project patterns that a lot of them are free. So I think that's why I end up going back a lot to Pearl Soho. So this was the men's mini herringbone scarf. I don't know why specifically it's men's. I guess it's like, there's nothing about the style though that it would be men's, but I did end up giving it to a man. It is just a very beautiful scarf in herringbone pattern. It was very easy because it just repeats the same pattern, but it took me a while to knit. And I feel like that is the trick with scarves a lot, at least for me, where I'm like, oh, I'll just make a scarf. It won't take long. And then I remember like, well, I've knit for a while and I've only have this much in, you know, your scarf, you want it to wrap around your neck. So it took me a while to finish this one, but I also had it ready around February. And I think I just used some patterns, a wool yarn that I found at a craft store that, you know, nothing super fancy because I knew, you know, it was something simple. But I was happy with how it turned out, and I think it was a fun pattern even for something so simple. I like gifting something simple and elegant, so it's a nice gift if you're looking for something like that. Okay, now the next pattern that I finished, I actually have with me. It's right here, but I will also put a picture because sometimes it looks better when you're wearing it. But this is the Owlery Blouse. Owlery Blouse by Fable Knitwear. It's one of those patterns that I had in my queue for a really long time. And like this year, I finally just was like, I'm gonna make this. And it's very light and airy. I get a lot of compliments on this blouse. It's a little too cold right now to wear it, but I really like wearing it kind of in between seasons. It's just so unique, right? It's so unique, and it looks more difficult than it actually is. For this, I use mohair for like the airy sleeves and the top of the top, and then like more solid wool yarn. I also made a video about how I made this pattern. Again, I follow the pattern by Fable Knitwear, but like everything about how I lined it in it and like what the details were, you can find. So another really, really favorite of mine. I feel like the only thing I wish I had done is made it a little bit longer. It's a little shorter. It's kind of like a crop top. And sometimes when I wear it, I'm like, oh, I kind of wish it was slightly longer. But I still really like it and wearing it. And it's also very soft because it has mohair. So, and I actually have a picture of me wearing this next to my husband who's wearing the vest that I just made, and this was on my birthday. So I remember feeling like, wow, it's only April. My birthday's in April, and I've already made 2 like complete pieces of clothing that we're both wearing. I felt so accomplished. I was so happy. I don't know, it was kind of the height of the year. I was really happy, and I had made, not only had I finished 2 full garments that we were both wearing, but it was also 2 garments that I was dying to make. So just kind of checking all the boxes and stop being distracted by other random projects was really fun to do. The next project that I finished, also have a video. Wow, I was also, I guess, more diligent about making videos of all the specific projects, so I will link to all of them. But this one was an interesting project because I actually repurposed the yarn that I used for a previous project, and I wasn't very happy with, I finished a cardigan using this yarn, and I just wasn't happy with it. I wasn't wearing it at all. It didn't work out. So I had it in the closet for the longest time, and finally this year being the year of I'm checking all the boxes, I'm doing the things that I said I was gonna do, and so I unraveled, I frocked the whole thing, and I made this, the Solstice Spencer. And it's just like a little Spencer vest with lots of, again, lace, very stretchy. I really like how it turned out. I had some issues with it, and if you go watch the video, I can tell you all the details about it, but in short form, it ended up, I just could not meet the gauge, no matter how many times I tried, and it was just too big, and so I just ended up making it the smallest size that I could and hoping for the best. It turned out okay. It does fit me. It's slightly big, but it doesn't look bad even though it's slightly big. It looks really nice. I've been wearing it a lot, again, now that it's colder, under my outfits, and I also wear it on my trip to the UK, which I have a whole video about that. It's just like a nice layer to have, and it honestly looks nice. I like the color and everything. And I'm trying to make more sleeveless type of warm weather clothing because I do end up sometimes being really sweaty, but I also cold. So anyway, it was a fun project in the end, and I felt good that yarn that had been sitting in the closet in that project for the longest time could be repurposed to something that I am more happy with and that I actually wear. The next project that I finished, I have because I've been wearing almost every single day, but I think it's somewhere in my coat, in the pocket of my coat in the closet. But it is a hat that I actually made while I was traveling. So I wanted to have a small project that I could bring with me during my travels and that I could knit, whenever we were waiting for a train or in the plane or whatever. I always like to have a small project. And so I brought this hat project, which is another Pearl Soho pattern, free. It's called a Picot hand in hand warmers. I did not make the hand warmers, only the hat. And I used Pearl Soho Cashmere Merino Bloom, which I've used before, but this was left over from a project that I did a few years ago, and it was like just under one skein. So I knew that pretty much all I could do is make a hat. And I swear, I wear this hat almost every day. It's so warm and so soft because of the Pearl Soho Cashmere Merino Bloom. So if you've ever wanted to work with that yarn, or if you ever wanted to have like something really luxurious, because this is like cashmere and merino wool together, and honestly, Pearl Soho has really, really nice quality yarn, but you don't want to spend like a lot of money in a project if you don't feel like confident yet. I do recommend trying something like this, like a nice little hat project that will keep you very warm and will allow you to have that luxury without breaking the bank. And it was also a really easy and fun project. It was perfect for traveling because it was mostly stockinette, and it's like, I think it's worsted weight. I can't remember. I think it is worsted weight. I only used about 150 yards, so I didn't even quite finish the skein. There was like a tiny bit left. And I finished it in my trip, and I got to wear it while I was traveling. And now I wear it in the winter like all of the time. So it was a perfect project, and I'm so happy with it, really. I forgot that I've made this year because I've worn it almost every day. Speaking of leftover yarns, my next project was also, because one of my goals this year was trying to go through as much of my stash as possible. Obviously, I mean, I made a little bit of a dent. There's still a lot in there, but I was trying to be kind of creative with ways of using, especially when there's not that much yarn left, but I still had a lot. So I used the leftover yarn I had from the Owlery blouse, the mohair and the wool, together to knit this scarf. It's called the Bibliothèque scarf. It ended up being a little strange on the edge, so you can kind of see that it curls a little, but it's just this little scarf. I mean, it is so tiny. You can only kind of wear it like this kind of scarf, very small, but it is nice and warm. And I think it did turn out cute. It's also kind of like that herringbone kind of texture. So it's almost similar to the other scarf that I made, except like the shape is different. And like I said, the only thing about this is I don't know what I did wrong, but the edges ended up very loose. And so it kind of curls a little bit. But once you wear it, I don't think I notice it as much. But it was like a nice way. I think I used up all the yarn that I had left over. So as you can see, it wasn't much yarn, but it was enough to make a whole other project. So I was, being creative, finding ways of using my yarn. So this is the Bibliothèque scarf by Heather Nolan. And I've seen a lot of this type of like really like ribbon scarves. I don't know what you would call them, like really tiny scarves that people wear. That is nice again for like when in between seasons. So yeah, another little small project that I finished, and this was by then completed in May-ish. So we're getting close to like the middle of the year, and as you can see, I had already finished all our projects. In fact, I am surprised myself that I did so many things so early in the year. So the next project that I worked on and finished was actually a cardigan. So I will put a better picture, but this is the cardigan by Perfectly Knotted. And I have also been wearing this so much, almost every single day. I love the fit of this cardigan. I also knit this with yarn from my stash. It was Malabrigo yarn Rios, and I bought this yarn in LA. It had been sitting in my stash for like over a year, and I bought it in a sweater quantity, but I didn't have anything in mind. So I found this cardigan, and it was kind of interestingly constructed. That at first, like, it took me a little bit of like thinking because it's kind of knit in one piece, including the edge of the cardigan. And I don't know if you can see it from there, but I've worn this so much it's starting to be able to tell it's spilling a little bit, just a little bit. It's ended up great. I love how the color of the Malabrigo yarn knit up. It looks so beautiful. It is so comfortable. It is warm, but not too warm. And it was kind of one of my goals to start knitting more cardigans because I do knit a lot of pullovers and I have quite a bunch of pullovers, but sometimes they're too warm, or, you know, you gotta take them all off and like completely changes your outfit. And so cardigans are just nice. You can just throw them on. You can like just wear them unbuttoned. And I just hadn't found a pattern that I felt very comfortable with. And then I found this one, I knit it, I loved it. It turned out great. It was supposed to be knit kind of loose, very loose, big, you know, that kind of big, oversized look. But I am not really into the oversized look. So I was like, I'll just knit more closer to my size. I kind of size down a little bit. And I like that I did that. It turned out great. It still fits me and without the oversized look. And yeah, this is like probably my most worn item of the year, I will say. By the time I finished this though, it was June. So it actually stayed in my closet for a little bit because I couldn't wear it. It was not cool enough. But I started working on another project in the summer. And one of those funny things, again, like it's the middle of the summer, but here I am making a Christmas pattern. And this was another one of my own designs that I made using hobby yarn. So this was like a whole different, whenever I design my own thing, it's a whole different challenge. But anyway, if you haven't seen me talk about this pattern yet, this is the Noche Buena pullover, which is a nice little pullover short sleeve with an option of long sleeve that I designed based in 1940s style, and obviously with Christmassy kind of vibe to it, color work, but simple color work. And I made this last summer. I made a whole video about the release of this pattern. It's maybe, you would think, a little late for this year's holiday season to knit, but I hope that if you like it, maybe you'll knit it in the future. Like, again, you can watch that whole video where I explain where this project came from and how it came to be. But this was like my big summer project, which took longer than a regular knit, honestly, and it always does when I am designing, just because, you know, there's a lot of trial and error and, you know, fixing things and reknitting them and reknitting them more than once, sometimes more than twice. So yes, this was kind of like my entire summer making this one project. So if you want to look at all of the garments or the patterns that I've designed in the past, again, I will put my link to them. I have a bunch, summer and seasonal and regular, like all kinds. So definitely check them out if you're interested. My next pattern that I knit, and I believe this was also in the summer, I finished it in June, was just a simple pair of socks using, again, hobby yarn. And this was like their sock yarn that I had never used before. They're very simple. They're just like a straight sock pattern. It is called the I'm So Basic socks. But the reason I knit this type of simple pattern was because I wanted to make a tutorial for knitting socks from scratch and kind of walk you through it, because I feel like a lot of people are excited of socks or scared of socks but don't quite dare to knit them. So I thought if I made a tutorial where I'm knitting it with you step by step, maybe a lot of people will feel more confident to knit their own socks. So that's why I made these. But I honestly have been wearing them all the time as well because they're comfy and warm. And this yarn, I mean, I washed this quite a few times already, and as you can see, they look pretty much perfect. So it has, now after it's been a few months, I can say that this yarn has held up pretty well. So again, you can check out that video where I walk you through how to make socks, and you will see me making these. These ended up being my only pair of socks this year. And I think it was just because I had some other projects to do, but I would like to make more socks. I love making socks. It's just, for some reason, I didn't get to do any of other sock patterns this year. The next project that I worked on this summer was the Candy Cotton Tee by Kaylee Reedy from Needles and Life. And I had actually made this one before, but I had made like a kid size. So this time I made an adult size, and this is gonna be a gift, so I don't have it with me. I have it packed somewhere. And this was made with We Are Knitters, the cotton, which is one of the recommended yarns for it. And last time I made it, it was also with the cotton. So this is a nice little tee. I already had this in my stash, and this is another kind of like, I will knit from my stash as much as possible. But I only had 2 skeins, and I kind of knew I was coming in a little short, and I was hoping that I could make it work, making it with like the cap sleeves. It did end up being a little short, so I still have like the little ruffle at the end, but it's like a really short ruffle, and it is kind of like more cropped, but I think it worked. I hope that the recipient likes it. It's like this nice rust color. And yeah, I mean, this is such a nice, easy project and fun, and honestly very comfortable for a tee. So I'm sure this is not the last time that I made a candy cotton tee, for sure. I also made another gift that I don't have with me because I already gave it to my friend. And I also made a video about this because it's another, like, you can see that I really I feel accomplished because I did knit a lot for my stash. And this was the video in which the one skein, one shawl video that was also very popular. And it is a traveling woman shawl. It was a nice little shawl that I made with one single skein of yarn. So I feel very proud of that one. It came out really, really cute. It's a very nice lacy shawl. Like, it's smaller, it's not like a huge shawl, but it still wraps around the neck. Recipient wears it a lot. I've seen her wearing it, so I'm so happy that she liked it. So this was like another successful gift pattern that I liked and used my stash. So I feel really good about this one as well. And that I finished around September, so like we're getting to the later part of the year by now. So after I finished that shawl, I kind of had to take a break from knitting. I have been knitting a little bit, but slower. So mostly making more gifts for the holidays. So I've only finished one of them, which was a simple hat that I am going to give my brother. It is the classic rib hat by Pearl Soho, which is, just as the name says, a classic ribbed hat. Very simple. I knitted in like a few days, and I also used yarn from my stash. In fact, I think I used leftover yarn from my Noche Buena pullover that I had like a little bit left, just enough to make this. And I added stripes to make it look a little more interesting. And yeah, this was a very easy pattern. Like, again, if you want to go for like something basic and well made, I do recommend all the Pearl Soho patterns for this, like that. So this was the one I finished the most recently in November, but like I said, there's like that huge space between September and November because of my break from knitting and like slowing down a little. So that was the last project that I finished. That makes 15 projects that I actually finished. It felt like less. As I was going through that, I was like, wait, no, that is a lot more than I thought. So 15 is not bad. I definitely had some years when I make more than that, some years that I make less. So this is kind of like an average year. I do have a few more projects that I'm really close to finishing, and like I said, they're for the holidays, so I think I will finish them. So I thought I could show you those as well. So the first one is a blanket, and it's called the Coziest Blanket Ever, pattern also free by Pearl Soho. And it is a very simple like blanket that you start at a corner. You can see I have a lot knit actually. I'm almost done. I'm pretty positive that I will finish this on time for Christmas, and this will be gifted to a friend. And I'm actually using this yarn because my friend's mom had a lot of yarn that she wasn't using, and so she gifted me some of that yarn, which included quite a lot of skeins of this boucle type of yarn, very like orange type of yarn. So I didn't know what to do with it, and I'm not a huge fan of boucle, at least not in like garments. Like I couldn't quite picture what to make with it. So it kind of just sat there for a while, and then I realized I could just make a blanket, and I found this blanket by Pearl Soho that is with boucle yarn. So it was perfect. The gauge was perfect. Everything was right. And it also occurred to me that like this like really bright orange color might not want to be worn by someone, but it is very soft and nice, and it would be like a nice blanket. So that's what I'm making with it. And I think it was a great idea. I think it's coming out great. I actually really like the way it looks. So I'm almost done with this one. And then I'm also almost done, even though might not look like it, but this knits really fast. It's going to be a ripple crop top, which is a pattern by JC Made. And I'm making this with yarn that was gifted to me a while ago, and because as you can see it is kind of like variegated yarn, I was never really sure what to do with it, and it's cotton yarn too, and I only had 2 skeins, so it was a little bit of like a question mark what do we do with this yarn? And then it occurred to me it could be like a nice little like summer top that was simple so that the yarn can kind of shine. And so I decided to go with the ripple crop top, which I've always wanted to make, and I'm gonna gift it. But I think it's coming out really nicely. Like I wasn't sure how well it was gonna work with this like pink and white colors, but it's coming out really cute, and it's knitting really fast, and it's also like ripped and simple to knit. So I am pretty sure I will knit this in time for gifting it. So I guess that will add 2 more projects to my, kind of getting ahead of myself, but hopefully it will add 2 more projects to my list. So that will make a total of 17 projects. Looking at all of them together, I did kind of fulfill my goal of using a lot of my stash. So I'm really proud of myself, and I want to continue doing that. Even though I did buy a little bit of yarn this year. I had said I wouldn't, but I did. Not too much though. And I did kind of get through a lot of my queue, which I'm really happy for. I also designed 2 whole patterns on my own, so I didn't have those quite as planned, I guess. So that kind of counts as like New Year yarn as well. But all in all, I think it was a really good year. Even though I only make 1 cardigan, a lot of pullovers. I keep making pullovers. I want to make more cardigans. So that's another thing that I kind of want to look forward to making next year. I want to keep working through my yarn. And I really enjoy being creative, like the creativity that figuring out how to knit through your stash kind of forces you into. So that was fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next year and to what other projects I might make. Of course, I have my queue, but this year is not as like defined as I've had it other years. So I have a few ideas. I might make another video where I give you some thoughts that I have on that. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and looking at everything together is always fun. Maybe you give yourself time to also look at what you knit, and would love to hear from you about all of your different knitting adventures in the past year. If you celebrate in the next few weeks, I hope you have a great holiday season, and I will see you very soon with more videos for the new year, so stay tuned. Make sure to like this video because that helps the algorithm, not just me, but also you, to tell them that you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one. Happy knitting!